The first time I saw her, I thought she was a vision from another world, literally. Her form was taller than any human, shimmering with iridescent skin that reflected the soft lights of the grand hall. Her eyes were enormous, multifaceted, and filled with intelligence so vast it made my own thoughts feel like whispers in a hurricane. She was the queen of the Clithery, a species that had ruled their star systems for centuries with absolute authority. And I was a human ambassador, alone, unprepared, outclassed in every possible way. I had been briefed about protocol, of course. Long documents filled with etiquette and cultural warnings. Do not touch. Do not speak out of turn. Do not make sudden movements. It was supposed to be simple, an exercise in restraint. But nothing in my life had prepared me for the gravity of being in the same room as an alien queen who could crush me with a flick of her elongated, luminescent hand. The hall was enormous, a cathedral of alien architecture. Walls of translucent crystal arched into impossible heights, and from above, light cascaded down like waterfalls of color, reflecting in her glittering skin. I tried to steady my breathing, reminding myself that I represented humanity, not a trembling, unprepared human boy named Elias. The Clithery officials guided me to a ceremonial platform. I knelt, as expected. Their queen descended from a raised dais, her movements fluid, almost hypnotic. Her presence alone demanded attention. The air shifted, heavy with authority, and an almost palpable energy that made the hair on my arms stand on end. "Elias Kane," she said in a voice that resonated in the hall, echoing in all directions. "You represent the humans?" "Yes, Your Majesty," I said, careful to maintain composure. "I am here to discuss a potential alliance between your people and the United Earth Coalition." She studied me for what felt like hours in human perception, probably a few seconds in hers, but the silence was deafening. I could feel the tension in the room, the hundreds of Clithery officials waiting for me to falter. I did my best to maintain a respectful posture, keeping my hands folded in front of me. Then it happened. I leaned forward slightly to pick up a ceremonial scroll that had been placed beside me. My hand slipped. My fingers brushed against a curve of her lower back as she turned toward a glowing console.
A mistake.
I knew it immediately. Time seemed to slow. I froze, eyes wide, heart hammering against my chest. I had touched the queen.
She stopped.
Mid-step. Her multifaceted eyes locked onto me, and the room went deathly silent. The air seemed to pulse with tension. All the Clithery officials froze, their antennas trembling in unison, a clear sign of alarm in their species. "How dare you?" Her voice boomed, sharper now, each syllable striking like a whip. I swallowed hard, aware that the slightest sound could trigger a disastrous reaction. I apologize, Your Majesty. It was an accident." Her eyes narrowed. They glowed faintly, a warning I didn't understand but felt in my bones. The entire hall seemed to shrink under the intensity of her gaze. "I expect obedience," she continued, her voice calm again, but with a dangerous undercurrent. "You will answer for your actions." I nodded furiously. "Yes, Your Majesty." I did not intend any disrespect. She circled me slowly, like a predator evaluating prey, her steps deliberate and unhurried. My legs felt weak. I tried to stand taller, to convey confidence, but inside I was panicking. "You are human," she said finally. "Fragile, reckless, bold, to the point of stupidity." I flushed, feeling smaller than ever, but I knew this was no time for excuses. "I am here to represent my species. I will do whatever is necessary to maintain peace." She stopped in front of me, her enormous eyes boring into mine. Then something unexpected happened. Instead of striking or sending me to some alien prison, she tilted her head. A subtle motion, but it carried more weight than words. "You are different," she said softly. I blinked. "Different?" "Yes," she replied. "Most of your species cowers or challenges in equal measure. You froze, yet admitted fault. You respected, yet feared nothing. It is unusual." I hesitated. Was this good? Bad? Neutral? I don't understand, Your Majesty. "You touched me," she said plainly. "And yet, you did not strike me in fear, nor did you attempt to justify yourself endlessly. You paused." I swallowed again. I was trying not to disrespect you. I know protocol. I failed. Her expression shifted subtly. There was curiosity now, not anger. Something I had not expected from the most powerful being I had ever encountered. "You are human," she said again. "And humans are unpredictable. Perhaps that is why you survive." The days that followed were a whirlwind. I was placed in quarters not unlike a guest, but under constant observation. The queen herself, the alien queen, visited the meeting chambers daily, and each time I noticed her watching me, not in accusation, but in assessment. It was during one of these visits that I realized the depth of her curiosity. "Why do you take such risks?" she asked, eyes glowing faintly as she floated inches above the polished floor. "Because sometimes caution does not solve problems," I replied cautiously. "Sometimes you must act, even if you might fail." She studied me for a long moment. "Boldness or foolishness?" she asked. "Perhaps both," I said. She did not answer immediately. Then she moved closer, tilting her head in a way that made my heart pound. "Most humans would not survive one day in my courts," she murmured. "Yet here you are. You may be foolish, but you are intriguing." It was the first time she had smiled at me. A faint curve of her iridescent lips, subtle but electrifying. The other officials noticed it too. They stiffened, clearly unused to seeing the queen show anything resembling approval. In the days that followed, she began to involve me in more than ceremonial duties. She asked questions about humanity, our cultures, our wars, our diplomacy, and even our failures. I was amazed at the depth of her curiosity and the intensity with which she listened to every answer. Then came the crisis. A hostile fleet from the neighboring Varkesh Confederacy had infiltrated Clithery space, moving silently with the intent of conquering several outer colonies. The Clithery forces were large, but the Varkesh fleet had something unexpected, cloaking technology that neutralized most sensors. They could strike without warning. The Queen called a war council. I was present. The generals assumed I would hide or remain silent, the human ambassador merely an observer. Instead, I suggested a risky maneuver. "If we split our fleet," I said, "and use diversionary tactics, we can funnel them into the gravitational field of Viral 9. It's unstable, yes, but it will trap part of their fleet and allow our main forces to strike." A murmur of disbelief ran through the chamber. The Clithery were conservative strategists, relying on perfect information and overwhelming force. This was neither. It was bold, foolhardy even. The Queen leaned forward, eyes fixed on me. "You suggest endangering our fleets for an opportunity?" "Yes, Your Majesty," I replied. "Sometimes survival requires risk. Sometimes luck favors those who act." There was silence. Then finally she nodded. "Very well," she said. "We will follow your plan." The battle was brutal. Ships exploded in silent bursts of energy, debris scattering across the void like glittering stars. I watched from the observation deck as the Clithery executed the maneuver under my guidance. Several ships were lost, but the Varkesh fleet was caught in the gravitational trap. I could see it in her eyes. the alien queen, the first trace of surprise and perhaps even admiration. You were correct, she said softly during the battle, almost to herself. By the end, the Varkesh fleet had retreated, their forces decimated and their plans foiled. The Clithery hailed the victory, but the queen did something unexpected. She summoned me to the throne chamber. You risked much, she said, her eyes searching mine. Yet you acted with clarity, with intent, and with courage. I underestimated your species. I underestimated you. I bowed. I acted for peace, your majesty. That is all. She regarded me silently, then reached out, not threateningly, but deliberately. She placed a hand on my shoulder. The touch was light, almost imperceptible, yet I could feel the weight of her recognition. You are remarkable, she said. I will watch your people closely, and perhaps there is more to learn from them than I imagined. Weeks passed, and our alliance solidified. Trade routes opened. Knowledge was exchanged. And in quiet moments, she continued to watch me, not as a subordinate, not as a fool, but as an equal in curiosity and resolve. I had survived the most powerful court in the galaxy. I had made a mistake, an accidental touch, but it had led to understanding, to trust, and ultimately to a bond that could change the course of interstellar relations. The first time I had seen her, I thought she was a vision. The first time I touched her, I thought I had ruined everything. But in the end, that small, human mistake had created a bridge between species, between worlds, and between two beings who had never truly expected to find understanding in each other. And that was the moment everything changed.